Hi everybody, it's Glenda here from Cynically Glenda. I want to record a final part to my The One That Got Away video. I've done some thinking and some research and so on and so forth. And opening up about that whole situation has helped me to get some clarity on it and to some degree closure. It occurred to me that my school teacher, he had a rather dysfunctional, unhealthy, codependent relationship with his mother. And after doing some research, I discovered that his mother was passive-aggressive. A passive-aggressive, covert narcissist, as opposed to the overt or, more obvious narcissist. And looking back, I know now that was probably, apart from my own mother, it was my first dealing with a narcissist. She was nice as pie to my face. But behind my back, she was maligning and twisting my school teacher's perception of who I was, who I am, what sort of an impact I would have in his life. He and I got on really well. It was a good relationship, a very good relationship. And I honestly believe in my heart, and I know he did too, that we had something special. But I think his mother also realised that we had something special. And that was why things turned out the way they did. She controlled his every decision and his every move. In a way, she used him as her surrogate emotional support, because obviously she wasn't getting it from her husband. And after going through the conversation I had with his sister Julie, after the fact, and the way she described his relationship with his mother, the bells started ringing. Not only did she affect and destroy his life, she destroyed our relationship sneakily, covertly, passive-aggressively. And it wasn't just that. I realised that I did everything I could. I did nothing wrong. I fought tooth and nail for that relationship. But she was working in the background, destroying it, systematically destroying it, at the expense of her own son. But because their codependent relationship was so ingrained, in spite of the fact that he realised after that he'd made a massive mistake, he made a choice. Even after our breakup, I continued to do the housework for his mother. for quite a while after, probably a year, maybe a bit longer. He knew my phone number. He knew where I lived. Yes, he knew I was in a relationship. And at one point I was engaged. I later married that guy. He could have spoken to me at any point. He could have called me. He could have come round to my place. He chose never to do that. He also chose to not keep the lines of communication open while he was away on holiday with his best friend. He made a lot of choices that put paid to our relationship for once and for all. It wasn't just his mother. He could have fought against her, but he didn't. And I understand the mentality that he would have had, that she's right, talking about his mother. She would know better than I would, etc., etc. The woman saw me as a threat, and she did something about it. And unfortunately, being as young as we were, in our early 20s, we didn't know how to fight up against it. And it was in the days before overt and covert narcissists and that sort of personality type was a big thing. They existed, but, we didn't know the extent of cluster B personality disorder sufferers. I did some research and I discovered that narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic personality disorders affect anywhere between 3 and 11% of the entire world population. Now, I did my research. There are 8.3 billion people in the world. 830 million people suffer from that kind of personality disorder. And that doesn't count the people with borderline personality and all the others. The reason for why I struggled so much with it and why it has taken me till now to realise that I did everything right, and that the blame for what happened between us lay solely in his lap and that of his mother's, because he could have done something about it. He chose not to. I tried to save the relationship. I tried to keep us together. And I think that's why I asked him to move in with me, just to get him away from his mother. And I know his sister, she was trying to help too. At the time, I was a bit annoyed because I'd already moved on. But I realised that I could not continue on in those conditions, loving someone the way I did, loving him the way I did, knowing what we had, and having to tolerate unseen influences on our relationship. I couldn't be with him under those circumstances, and I had every right to walk away. It hurt so much because I honestly believe in my heart he was the one. But due to circumstances beyond my control, there was nothing I could do about it. And I had to walk away For my own sanity, I had to walk away. The unfortunate thing is, because of my own trauma issues from my own relationship with my narcissistic mother and the damage that she did, it caused me a lot of pain. It caused me a lot of unresolved trauma that I never really recovered from. And I think combined with a lot of other things that have happened in my life, that's why I've got fibromyalgia. That's why my life has literally gone down the toilet. But I know that I never failed him. I know that. And I know that in spite of everything, he really did love me. I know that. The things he said to me when he was away from his mother, he meant them. He really did. He just couldn't see what his mother was doing. And that's something he has to live with, and that's something that his mother would have had to have lived with. And an interesting side note, doing the research that I was doing, I discovered that he and his wife currently live probably 20 minutes away from where I am. We live literally in the same suburb. And I just hope and pray that I never run into him, because I don't think my heart could handle it. Anyway, that's it, guys. Bye.